Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Bramble Fox. I'm going to be using some items from the January Fox box, as well as a couple of the mini perspectives from the store. So I've done a little bit of prep work off camera, just because it would have been a bit boring for you to watch. What I've done is I've drawn a kite shape on some white card. I've sliced it down the middle, sort of lengthways, and then I've just used that as a template and cut some pattern papers from the Simple Stories Hearth and Home collection. And I'm going to have these kites pieced together, as you'll see now, to make a star shape in the centre of my page. Just like so. I've also distressed all the edges of these pieces with my distressing tool. I love the texture that brings to a page, and if you don't have a distressing tool, you can achieve exactly the same effect with a pair of scissors. Just use the edge of the blade and just kind of scrape it lightly down the edges of the paper, and it will give you the same distressed look. And I love that on my pages. It's something I do on pretty much all of my layouts. And I'm now going to get these bits stuck in place. I've marked the centre of my page just with a little pencil point there, just so it gives me something to work around, so I can get these pieces kind of centred and lined up properly. And I toyed with the idea of adding some craft foam behind these and raising them up, but I've made a lot of really dimensional layouts lately, and my albums are, well, I would say they're starting to look chunky, but that would be a lie because I don't file my layouts. They pile up for a year and then I put off filing them. But I know I've made a lot of really chunky layouts lately, so I'm trying to make a few kind of flatter, less dimensional pages. It's not going too well because I do like a lot of dimension on my pages. But I just decided to stick these down flat today, just to save me a little bit of space when I finally do get around to putting things in albums. But I am going to raise my photo up with some foam, obviously, and my perspectives add a lovely amount of dimension as well. So there'll still be some dimension on the page, but probably not as much as I would normally have. So I've cut my photo in a circular shape. I think it's about 3 inches in diameter, and I've mounted it onto some white cardstock just to give it a border. I just find that helps give a little bit of separation from the background, and I also find photo paper quite flimsy, so just by adding that layer of cardstock behind it, it just makes it a bit more rigid and easier to work with, and it doesn't kind of sink down at all in any parts. I've added a layer of the wood grain pattern paper from Hearth and Home behind it. So I've used several of the papers for the star. The navy is actually not in that collection. I've bought that in from P13 Soulmate. I just felt like this layout really needed some navy. The whole collection really could have done with navy, because I've used it for photos of my little boy and he's always got his blue coat on, so navy works really well with it. So I think every time I've used this collection I've bought some navy in. But yeah, so on my sort of diamond shapes or triangles, as I've cut them in half, I've only used one wood grain piece, so I felt like I wanted to get a bit more of that on the page, so I've added a layer of that behind my photo. And then I want my 2022 perspective to sit at the top of my star design, but rather than just sticking it down with some adhesive and calling it done, I thought I'd add a bit more interest to it, a bit more texture. So I've wrapped some embroidery thread around it, the open numbers obviously, and I'm going to tuck those behind on the back. I didn't get it quite as symmetrical as I was hoping for, but it was a bit fiddly. But I just like that it's just a little bit more interest to that rather than just sticking it down flat and calling it done. So that's going to sit at the top of my star. Then I've got my photo is going to sit in the centre with some foam behind it for that dimension, and I'm going to have my moments perspective underneath my photo. So both of these pieces are from the January Fox box. And I'm going to get those stuck in place with my glossy accents. So I've just peeled the protective film off the backing there. You might have seen me. All the perspectives, or most of the perspectives, will come with a layer of protective film either on the front or the back, or sometimes both, depending on the design. So you do need to peel those off before sticking them to your layout. It just makes your perspectives nice and shiny. So yeah, I've removed that and stuck them down with glossy accents, and now I'm going to think about embellishing my layout. And I don't want to go too mad because I love the patterned paper star around the back, and I didn't buy a lot of the embellishments to go with this collection. I loved the colours, but the actual theme of it I thought I would struggle to use, so I bought the sticker sheet. But I didn't buy any of the ephemera packs or die cut packs or chipboard or anything like that, literally just the sticker sheet, and I'm going to use some of the pattern papers to create some embellishments. So I'm fussy cutting some flowers and some leaf sprigs from this one, and I'm going to have those arranged around my photo. So there we go, I've skipped through the rest of that fussy cutting for you. I'm just going to have these arranged around my star. I'm not going too mad, just going to add a couple of the larger yellow flowers either side. I think one of the smaller ones in with those clusters, and then a couple of those leaf sprigs. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of tacky glue just on the edge that's going to sit underneath my photo, and then the outer leaves and petals I'm going to raise up on foam pads just to bring in a bit more of that dimension. So again, I've skipped through that for you because it was a bit repetitive, and I'm just going to finish off the layout with a couple of heart perspectives. These are an older set from the store. I think they were called Hearts Special Edition or Hearts Limited Edition, but I'm going to pick out some of the gold ones. I've got a couple of the navy ones left, and I'm going to use a couple of the grey ones as well. And this pack came with some kind of open hearts and closed ones, so I'm actually going to place some of the closed ones inside the open hearts. You'll see what I mean just here. So I've got a gold one inside a navy on the left, and then on the right I've got a navy one inside a gold one. I'm just mixing the colours up a bit, and I'm going to add two smaller perspectives underneath those, and then a couple of grey hearts just up the top either side of my 22. There we go, so my perspectives are stuck in place and most of my embellishments. I do want to add a little bit of sparkle to the layout, or a bit more should I say, because those lovely gold heart perspectives are almost glittery, so they've got a little bit of shine and sparkle as well. But I just wanted to add some sequins in. So this is a pack from Spiegelmum Scraps. It's called Tranquil Garden, and it's got the perfect tones to go with this layout. So I'm picking out that mustard yellow colour, some of the green ones, and then some of the navy ones, and I'm just arranging them in clusters of 3 around the star, sort of following that central design, keeping everything tight to the centre, so I don't want anything too close to the edges. So just adding little clusters of 3 all the way around, and then I'm going to get those stuck down with my glossy accents. And then I found those gorgeous little butterfly sequins in the pack as well. It's the same pack, and they're a lovely kind of iridescent mustard yellow colour. So I've decided to bring a couple of those in, and I'm going to stick those on the white cardstock as opposed to on my star where everything else is, just for a little bit more interest, just to have the design kind of extended out a little bit. But I wanted to add something to the centre of them. They have 2 tiny little holes going horizontally through the body of the butterfly, so it was perfect to add some embroidery floss through. So I've just used a needle, and just for contrast I've gone with the navy thread just against the yellow. I love those 2 colours together. So I'm just going to knot that off on the back, and then I'm going to get those stuck down onto the white cardstock with some foam pads behind them. And then this gave me the idea to add some stitching to the outside edge of my page as well. So I quite often like to use 12 by 12 patterned papers and use them as a kind of frame or a border for my entire layout. But I didn't have any 12 by 12 sheets left in this collection that I hadn't cut into already. And the other thing I kind of do in that situation would be machine stitch around the edge, but I didn't feel like that would fit with this layout because I haven't got any other machine stitching on the page. So by doing that embroidery thread through the butterflies, it gave me the idea to add some thread down the edges of my layout. So I quickly added a couple of stickers from the sticker sheet, just a couple of hearts, blue and yellow, by those butterflies. And then the last thing I'm going to do then is add this stitching. So I'm just using my T-square ruler. I've put a bit of foam underneath my layout just to make it easier to poke that pin through. And I've just poked 2 holes. I think they're about 13 centimetres apart, something like that, 10, 13 centimetres. And I'm just going to go up through the back and then back down again and just stick the ends down with some tape. And I'm going to do that to the bottom right corner and the top left corner. and I'm going to do blue, yellow and green threads, each one getting slightly shorter and centered. So you'll see what I mean in a minute, but I get the blue and yellow in first, and then I decide to add the green as well. So I come back in with the green and just add a little shorter line, and then that will be me done. So I skipped through the last bit of this for you. It was quite repetitive, but I've just added my last bit of green in and neatening the ends off on the back. And you can see there I've got those 3 lines of thread on each side just to finish it off. I just felt like the edge of the page needed something. And I'm going to give you some close-ups now, but thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this layout and the process, and it's given you some inspiration for using your January Fox box or perspectives you might have in your stash. I absolutely love these perspectives. That moment is my favourite font that Morag does. I just absolutely love the titles in that font, so really love how this one turned out. I will pop some links in the description box for you below, obviously to the store, and also to the Foxbox sign up page if you're not already a subscriber. And I'll also leave the link for our Bramble Fox Friends Facebook group as well. So head on over and join if you're not already in the group. You'll get loads of inspiration and also see our monthly challenges where you can win a voucher to the shop each month. So do check that out. And like I said, I'll pop those links in the description box below. But thanks very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.